Hello, I'm Hope Logan. I am an actor on Bold and the Beautiful, and many people really love both me and our Bold and the Beautiful drama. So I've come here to share updates about my beloved Bold and the Beautiful. Everyone, please subscribe and support me. If you do, I will keep coming every day with new updates for you. Across the upcoming 3 weeks, from June 15th to July 3rd, the world of the Bold and the Beautiful is set to spiral into a storm of secrets, shifting loyalties, and emotional explosions that could change everything for the families of Forrester, Spencer, Logan, and beyond. What begins as a stretch of glamorous fashion world tension quickly evolves into a web of romance, betrayal, and dangerous schemes that threaten to collapse long-standing relationships. In the week of June 15th to 19th, unexpected passion erupts when Melissa Dillon finds herself swept into a sudden romantic encounter with R.J. Forrester, a moment that immediately reshapes her personal and professional world at Forrester Creations as she is reassigned to report to a new authority. Meanwhile, Will Spencer finds himself trapped in emotional pressure as Electra Forrester corners him into revealing the truth about the mysterious Logan designer, forcing him to struggle for an escape from her relentless questioning. At the same time, Steffi Forrester Finnegan begins to sense that Hope Logan is hiding something significant, a suspicion that grows stronger as she unexpectedly promises something meaningful to Brooke Logan Forrester. Out of nowhere, Steffi presents an offer that could finally give Hope what she has long been waiting for, a confirmed relaunch date for Hope for the future, while hinting she may go all in during the climax of an upcoming fashion show at Eric Forrester's next major event. Yet behind the scenes, Hope is already deeply involved in her own preparations, as Deke Sharp works tirelessly to bring her creative vision to life for what is shaping up to be a powerful Logan debut on the runway. As tensions rise in the business world, power struggles intensify when Bill Spencer exerts pressure on Wyatt Spencer, demanding that he hand over the real Hope for the future Diamond if he wants to secure a lucrative partnership involving Shauna Fulton. The stakes grow even darker when Sheila Carter re-enters the scene, instantly unsettling both Taylor Hayes and Deacon Sharp with her unpredictable presence. Sheila's return is far from passive, as she begins laying the groundwork for manipulative strategies aimed at breaking Deacon and Taylor apart, with her intentions growing more dangerous during the week of June 22nd to 26th. Whispers also emerge about Sheila's mysterious roommate, sparking speculation that it could be Remy Price, who may be secretly aligned with her in a shared mission to win back the people they love. Remy, meanwhile, refuses to give up on Deke Sharp, clinging to the hope of rebuilding their future together, even as complications and emotional obstacles continue to mount around them. Elsewhere, emotional tensions spill over into personal relationships when Will and Electra are forced to confront the truth about Dylan's growing connection with a new man in her life, R.J. Forrester. The revelation triggers a wave of conflicting reactions as Electra struggles to decide whether she feels jealous over Dylan's bond with R.J. or relieved that it distances her from Will's emotional pull. Will, however, reacts far more aggressively, unable to contain his frustration as he lashes out, insisting that RJ is completely wrong for Dylan and warning that he will ultimately cause her pain. His protective stance begins to look less like concern and more like possession, a perception that leads Electra to question whether his behavior is driven by genuine worry or unchecked territorial instincts. The emotional friction between them deepens, creating a divide that reflects the larger chaos unfolding across multiple relationships in the Forrester and Spencer orbit. By the week of June 29th to July 3rd, everything builds toward an explosive breaking point when Hope's hidden Logan secret finally comes crashing into the open, just as Katie's fashion show unexpectedly steals attention from Forrester Creations and shifts the industry spotlight. The fallout is immediate and severe as tensions erupt within the company and many begin to see Hope not as a visionary designer, but as someone who may have betrayed the very foundation of the brand. The emotional and professional consequences ripple through every corner of the Forrester world, threatening alliances and shattering trust in ways that cannot easily be repaired. As Independence Day celebrations approach, the atmosphere turns even more volatile, with fireworks in the sky mirroring the emotional explosions unfolding between characters, where romance, confrontation, and rivalry collide in unpredictable ways. In the midst of celebration and chaos, unexpected sparks fly, fierce confrontations erupt, and shocking surprises promise to leave everyone reeling as these 3 weeks push every relationship to its breaking point. As the storm of revelations continues to build, the aftermath of Hope's exposed secret doesn't simply fade into quiet resolution. It spreads through Forrester Creations like a shockwave that refuses to settle. Every hallway seems heavier, every conversation more fragile, as people struggle to decide where loyalty truly belongs and who has been playing a longer game behind the scenes. The once glamorous world of fashion now feels charged with suspicion, as colleagues who once collaborated effortlessly begin watching each other with guarded eyes. Hope finds herself standing at the center of it all, not as a celebrated designer, but as someone whose every past decision is suddenly being re-examined under a harsh, unforgiving light. Even those closest to her are forced into difficult emotional positions, torn between personal history and professional integrity, as the fallout grows more intense with each passing moment. At the same time, the emotional fractures forming in relationships across Los Angeles begin to widen under pressure that no one can easily contain. Will's escalating frustration over RJ's connection with Dylan doesn't cool down. It deepens, becoming more emotionally volatile as his warnings grow sharper and his patience thinner. What he sees as protection continues to clash with how others interpret his behavior, leaving Elektra increasingly uncertain about whether she is witnessing concern or control. That uncertainty becomes its own quiet conflict between them, creating a tension that lingers even in their calmer moments. Meanwhile, RJ remains unaware of just how central he has become in other people's emotional battles, as his presence unknowingly reshapes dynamics far beyond his own intentions, pulling others into a growing web of jealousy, misinterpretation, and unresolved feelings. As Independence Day arrives, the celebrations bring a brief illusion of unity, with lights, gatherings, and fireworks painting the sky in bursts of color that momentarily disguise the underlying chaos. But beneath the festive surface, emotional undercurrents remain unsettled, and every interaction feels like it is balanced on the edge of something unpredictable. The fireworks above mirror the emotional volatility below, as long-simmering conflicts threaten to erupt at any moment into confrontations that cannot be undone. In this charged atmosphere, romance and rivalry blur together, with unexpected sparks flying in directions no one can fully anticipate. What should be a night of celebration instead becomes a turning point where hidden tensions finally demand to be acknowledged, setting the stage for consequences that will continue echoing long after the final firework fades into the night sky. As the final echoes of Independence Day fade into the night, the emotional consequences of everything that has unfolded refuse to dissolve with the celebration. Instead, they linger in the air like smoke after fireworks, drifting quietly through every corner of Los Angeles and settling into the lives of those who thought they still had control over their carefully built worlds. At Forrester Creations, the tension has not lessened. It has only changed shape, becoming quieter but far more dangerous as people begin to reassess who can be trusted and who has been hiding behind polished smiles and strategic silence. Hope's position remains especially fragile as the consequences of her exposed secret continue to reshape how others perceive her intentions, her loyalty, and even her future within the company. Every glance in her direction now carries weight, as though the truth has permanently altered the way she exists in the eyes of everyone around her. While the corporate world struggles to regain balance, darker undercurrents continue to develop in the background, especially around those who operate outside traditional lines of trust and morality. Sheila Carter remains a destabilizing force, her presence still casting a long shadow over both Deacon Sharp and Taylor Hayes, who find themselves unable to fully escape the psychological pressure of her unpredictable return. Even when she is not physically present, the mere possibility of her interference keeps their relationship under strain as doubts and fears begin to creep into moments that should feel safe. Sheila's plans remain deliberately unclear, but her influence is unmistakable as she continues to manipulate circumstances from the edges, tightening invisible threads around those she intends to disrupt. The sense grows stronger that her next move will not only affect individual relationships, but could shift the emotional balance of multiple lives at once. Elsewhere, the emotional fallout involving younger members of the extended Forrester and Spencer circle continues to spiral in more personal and unpredictable ways. Will Spencer finds himself increasingly consumed by his fixation on the connection between RJ and Dylan, unable to separate genuine concern from the emotional intensity that now drives his reactions. What began as protectiveness has now hardened into something far more complicated, creating friction in every interaction he has with Electra Forrester, who struggles to reconcile the version of Will she cares about with the version of him that seems increasingly reactive and territorial. At the same time, R.J. Forrester continues forward without fully realizing the emotional storm forming around him, as his growing bond with Dylan unintentionally becomes a catalyst for jealousy, misunderstanding, and strained loyalties. The emotional triangle tightens further, pulling everyone involved into a space where honest communication feels harder to reach with each passing day. And just as some conflicts reach boiling point, others begin to evolve into more calculated long-term power plays that hint at consequences still ahead. Bill Spencer continues to apply pressure behind the scenes, maintaining his relentless pursuit of advantage as he pushes those around him toward decisions that benefit his larger ambitions. Wyatt Spencer remains caught in the middle of these expectations, forced to navigate demands that blur the line between family loyalty and business survival, especially as external alliances tied to Shauna Fulton continue to complicate matters further. Every decision now feels like it carries long-term consequences, as if one misstep could shift the entire balance of power between families who have spent years locked in cycles of rivalry and reconciliation. As these overlapping tensions converge, the world around them moves closer to another breaking point, one that promises that the drama is far from over and that the next wave of revelations may be even more disruptive than the last. As the aftermath of escalating tensions settles into a fragile calm, the sense of stability in Los Angeles proves to be nothing more than an illusion. Beneath the surface of everyday conversations and polished corporate meetings, unresolved emotions continue to simmer, waiting for the smallest spark to ignite them again. At Forrester Creations, the atmosphere has shifted into something more restrained, but far more unpredictable, where every decision is weighed not only for its creative value but also for its potential to trigger another wave of conflict. Hope remains under this quiet but constant pressure, as her reputation continues to be questioned in ways that subtly reshape her standing within the company. Even when no one speaks openly about the scandal anymore, its shadow remains embedded in every interaction she has. Meanwhile, the emotional entanglements that have been forming across relationships only grow more complicated with time, refusing to resolve themselves cleanly. Will Spencer continues to wrestle with his growing intensity over the situation involving R.J. Forrester and Dylan as his emotions fluctuate between protectiveness, jealousy, and frustration he can no longer easily control. Each conversation with Electra Forrester becomes a test of patience and understanding as both struggle to bridge the widening gap created by mistrust and misinterpretation. Electra finds herself questioning not only Will's motives, but also the direction of their connection, as the weight of his reactions begins to reshape how she views their future together. RJ, remaining largely unaware of the emotional storm orbiting around him, continues to move forward in his own path, unknowingly intensifying tensions simply by being at the center of someone else's unresolved feelings. At the same time, deeper and more dangerous undercurrents continue to develop in the background, driven by individuals who operate with far less transparency and far more calculated intent. Sheila Carter remains an ever-present threat, her influence extending through subtle manipulations that keep both Deacon Sharp and Taylor Hayes constantly on edge. Their attempts to maintain emotional stability are repeatedly undermined by the lingering uncertainty of what Sheila might do next, as her presence feels less like a single disruption and more like an ongoing psychological weight pressing into every aspect of their lives. Each new rumor or unexplained shift in circumstances raises suspicion that she is already setting another plan into motion, one that could once again upend fragile relationships that are only just beginning to recover. The fear of her next move becomes almost as disruptive as the move itself, creating a constant state of anticipation and unease. And as these intertwined tensions continue to build, the broader world surrounding them moves steadily toward yet another turning point, where hidden motives and buried truths are likely to surface once more. Business ambitions, romantic entanglements, and family loyalties remain on a collision course, each one pulling against the other in ways that make compromise increasingly difficult. Bill Spencer's relentless drive for control continues to influence events from behind the scenes, while Wyatt Spencer remains trapped in the space between obligation and self-preservation. Every storyline, every relationship, every decision now feels like it is inching closer to a moment of irreversible consequence where the balance between trust and betrayal will finally collapse. And as that pressure continues to rise, it becomes clear that what lies ahead is not resolution, but another escalation waiting just beneath the surface.